I want to listen to RFK Jr. basically argue with Elizabeth Warren at his confirmation hearing. Let's see what they have to say to each other.
Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Kennedy, I want to start with something that I think you and I agree on, and that is that Big Pharma has too much power in Washington. You said that President Trump asked you to, quote, clean up corruption and conflicts. Sounds great. You've said that you will, quote, slam shut the revolving door between government agencies and the companies they regulate. That also sounds great. So here's an easy question. Will you commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer for at least 4 years?
This is a big problem, yeah. In fact, I believe that this is an executive order that Trump reversed. The fact that people in an administration should not take jobs afterward in, like, the private sector working for big lobbying groups or something. Trump, I think he reversed that. He absolutely reversed an executive order lowering drug prices. So Trump raised drug prices for like older people, like insulin and stuff, and a whole bunch of other really bad stuff. Like, why would you do that? I think she's shouting out to that. This has a clear answer. The answer is no, I will not join lobbying groups after leaving government, right?
Or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member.
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit
You're
to
not going to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh.
Yes, you.
Yeah.
No, this isn't a joke. We're asking you a real question right now. No, I don't trust you, Robert F. Kennedy. I don't. You're going to have to give me some reason to trust you.
I'm happy to commit to that.
Okay, good. That's what I figured. I said it's an easy question to start with. And I think you're right on this.
I don't think any of them want to give me money, by the way.
Okay, great.
Let's keep going. You're right, because to say yes, because every American has the right to know that every decision you make as our number one health officer is to help them and not to make money for yourself in the future. So I want to talk more about money. I'm looking at your paperwork right now. In the past 2 years, you've raked in $2.5 million from a law firm called Wisner Baum. You go online, you do commercials to encourage people to sign up with Wisner Baum to join lawsuits against vaccine makers. And for everyone who signs up, you personally get paid. And if they win their
Oopsie daisies
case, you get 10% of what they win. So if you bring in somebody who gets $10 million, you walk away with $1 million. Now, you just said that you want the American people to know you can't be bought. Your decisions won't depend on how much money you could make in the future. You won't go to work for a drug company after you leave HHS. But you and I both know there's another way to make money. So, Mr. Kennedy, will you also agree that you won't take any compensation from any lawsuits against drug companies while you are secretary and for 4 years afterwards?
Well,
oh boy, that's a little harder, huh?
I'll certainly commit to that while I'm secretary.
Okay, that's not what anyone asked.
I do want to clarify something because you're making me sound like a shill. I put together that case. I did the Science Day presentation to the judge on that case to get it into court.
Mr. Kennedy,
hearing.
Mr. Kennedy, it's just a really simple question.
Yeah.
You've taken in $2.5 million. I want to know if you will commit right now that not only will you not go to work for drug companies, you won't go to work suing the drug companies and taking your rake out of that while you're a secretary and for 4 years after. It's just...
I'll commit to not taking any fees from drug companies while I'm secretary.
No. I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
no,
and I'm not going to agree to that, Senator.
Companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies.
God, he is It's very clear what he's doing, right?
for anybody.
So let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits. Well, let me start the list. You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint
I
people
don't
to
understand
the CDC vaccine.
You don't understand. Really, you got gummy bears in your ears? What's happening? How do you not understand what's being asked? Are you competent to do this job?
Panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the vaccine schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation even if there is no causal evidence. You could change vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm, and they could use it however it benefited them. You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program. There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits so that what you do is
Or any of those lawsuits, right? Yeah, that's a good point. Wow, she's on point here. I'm loving it. Call me McDonald's because I'm loving it.
Secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine.
Oh my God. This is such a dishonest framing. You can sue them to your heart's content.
No,
Pharmaceutical
I am
companies.
not.
Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
No, look, no one should be fooled here. As
thought
Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Senator, I support vaccines. I will.
No, he literally does not. Like, I don't understand his point here. Why is he even pretending?
I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
How about this?
Okay, what about not taking money from the industry? God, I love this, dude. She's awesome.
Say you won't make money off what you do as Secretary of HHS.
Before we go to Senator Tillis, I think would be
Tom Tillis, he's a total scumbag, isn't he, if I remember correctly?
important for me to make it very clear that Mr. Kennedy has gone through the same Office of Government Ethics process as every single.
Yes, I know. He's a scumbag, and he can get away with that because the ethics office is not stringent enough. Is anybody sitting here saying, I really like where government ethics are? I think government is the most ethical system in the world. I don't think I've literally ever heard anybody say that in the history of ever. We want more stringent rules for government, is the point.
Other nominee in the Finance Committee this year and in previous administrations. In addition to listing his assets, including the items that you've identified, he has signed an ethics letter that has been reviewed by the Office of Government Ethics concerning any possible conflict in light of its functions and the
Well, not any possible conflict, just the ones that are in the purview of this whole thing. Government workers very clearly get involved in conflicts of interest all the time. Nobody can deny that's a problem. Didn't Trump come here claiming to want to drain the swamp in the first place? Is government ethics a problem or not?
nominees' proposed duties, and we have a letter from the Office of Government Ethics that he hasn't complied completely with all applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest.
Mr. Chairman, point of information here.
Some fucking asshole over here clapping.
Have we had a single nominee come through who's made $2.5 million off suing one of the entities that it would be regulating and plans to keep getting a take of every lawsuit in the future? Have we had that before?
I haven't reviewed the past
The answer is no.
documentation of every other nominee's financial interests, and so no. But I know that every single time we get a nominee, their financial interests are attacked. That's why we have the Office of Government Ethics. That's why they've reviewed everything that's in his record, and that's why he has even, I think, and I don't know that I want to ask him to get into it, but he has listed his assets and has gone through a discussion of the responsibilities under our ethics laws and has complied with all of those.
Yeah. Get absolutely destroyed, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This dude has trampled all over his family's legacy. He is an embarrassment to all of them. I want to find the whole thing. Hang on.
Listed his assets and has gone through a discussion of the responsibilities under our ethics laws and has complied with all of those requirements. Senator Tillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kennedy, how's your morning going?
So far, so good. Senator.
You came prepared. I'm glad that you did. I believe, addressed
Such a suck up, dude.
to my satisfaction a question about Title X and the president's priority with respect to Planned Parenthood. Can you just affirm that you are 100% behind the president's policy on Title X and the implementation?
I'm 100% behind it, Senator.
Thank you. It's amazing to me that people. Well, first off, you need to understand. I was in a judiciary hearing.
Dude, is he going to ask him a question? Isn't this like designed for questions?
This
Is he going on a monologue just for the hell of it?
morning, it's very clear to me that some of these nominations are going to be shirts and skins. So no matter what you answer in the affirmative, they're going to ask you one more question so that you won't be able to answer in the affirmative. That's just the way the game gets played when we have nominees like yourself. So
Okay.
I think you're handling yourself well. I got a real quick question for you. Are you a conspiracy theorist?
The answer is yes, he is. This stuff about vaccines is not true. None of it is true. It's fictitious. And, RFK Jr., he must know that. He was an environmental lawyer, I believe, for a long time. He has to know this.
That is a pejorative, Senator, that's applied to me, mainly to keep me from asking difficult questions of powerful interest.
Oh, please.
I was told that I was a conspiracy theorist. That label was applied to me because I said that the COVID vaccine, didn't prevent transmission and it wouldn't prevent infection.
COVID vaccine doesn't prevent transmission and it wouldn't prevent infection. The COVID vaccine doesn't prevent transmission in that that's not how it operates. The vaccine is designed to make it a more mild illness than it would have otherwise been, and even prevent some people from getting it in the first place, which by that function alone would decrease transmission. So in the most technicalist sense, I suppose maybe you could say what he just said, but not really. It's like how Donald Trump says he got more votes than any sitting president in history in 2020. That is there's so much nuance to that. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm going to call that false. Like that's just false just by how it's being represented. It's just nonsense. It's intentionally framed to deceive people.
When the government was telling people, Americans, that it would. I was saying that because I was looking at the monkey studies in May of 2020. I was called a conspiracy.
Wait, you were looking at the monkey studies in May of 2020? They didn't have a vaccine at the time. What are you talking about? How could you possibly be looking at vaccine studies before there was a vaccine?
Now everybody admits it. I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said red dye caused cancer. And now FDA has acknowledged that and banned it.
Like everything that he's saying pretty much is bullshit. I don't feel like looking up every single thing. Just be extremely cautious about believing a word out of his mouth.
I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said fluoride lowered IQ.
That is not true.
Last week, JAMA published a meta-review of 87 studies saying that there's a direct inverse correlation between IQ loss.
All right. So I'm going to assume a lot.
This is just bullshit. It's all bullshit. Everything that he's laying down is a lie.
Go on for about a week.
So, is there any one of them that you can say, you got me? That really was a conspiracy theory? Or are you in a position to submit for the record? I think it'd just be helpful for every one of these narratives for you to submit that maybe for the record. You said something about SNAP lunch. I was in the State House in North Carolina before I came here, and anytime I'd go visit an elementary school, the first thing I would do is go to the trash cans in the cafeteria. And what we have now are kids that are not eating the food because the dictates of the federal government have made it something that they don't want.
Are you shitting me right now? Is this a joke, really? Does he think that kids historically have always eaten the food that was provided at the school for lunch? You think that the kids have always done that? You're looking in trash cans at schools. Do you realize this is anecdotal? This is dumb as dog shit. It depends on the area. Like the lunch at the schools in West Virginia were top tier, actually, surprisingly. They were really, really good. The lunch at the school in New York City, not so good. It's very situational. It depends on where you are in the country. But you're saying like what? Nutritional standards? Are you telling me we should be giving kids more junk? More trash that is unhealthy for them? I simply disagree.
The food because the dictates of the federal government have made it something that they don't want. But they say, well, it's a healthy alternative. It has processed materials in it, and it's not particularly attractive to them.
Healthy alternative necessarily means less processed stuff. Processed food is not as good for you as food produced otherwise. So this is just like complete bullshit. He's just like making it up.
So they throw it away. Trash cans full of food that these kids didn't eat. So then what do? They go eat snacks, or they go eat or they drink a sugar drink. SNAP.
Wait, is it healthy or not? Like you're telling me that they don't want to eat healthy things. So I guess you're telling me they should give them unhealthy things for lunch? I don't understand. This makes no sense.
Program, everything you've said about the SNAP program, I agree with. I think that we should be very, very strict about that. And it's going to make some people uncomfortable in the food manufacturing segment, produce healthy foods that we can put in the SNAP program. That's the way to address it.
The SNAP program is Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, SNAP. The SNAP program, if you will. I don't understand why school lunch isn't included in that, is it? I don't understand. Is he saying that, like, school lunch sucks, so we should stop giving impoverished people, like, nutritional assistance for babies or anything? I'm trying real hard to understand here.
But we also need to look at the school health program. I was PTA president 22 years ago at my daughter's high school, and I feel like we've got these kids that need help. We've got to guide them through a process. Many of them are probably on Medicaid, and Medicaid's failing them. Everybody here says
Medicaid is failing them, so ban it. Get rid of Medicaid because it's failing them. That's his argument.
Medicaid is sacrosanct. Nobody's admitted that Medicaid is not producing positive health outcomes. Is that your
That's complete bullshit. Yes, it is. What are you talking about?
problem with Medicaid right now? The program or the outcomes?
Is the outcomes. We're spending $900 billion and our people are getting sicker every single year.
Yeah. So anybody.
This is just bullshit. This is just a lie.
President Trump wants people to have it, Americans to have high quality insurance.
Anybody who's building a case for the status quo of Medicaid is by extension saying that they're happy with the outcomes. I think it's unacceptable.
I'm happier with the outcomes of Medicaid than I am with the outcomes of no Medicaid. Obviously. He's trying to garner support for people that want better health care while arguing that they should have no health care. This is wild.
I do have a question for you on Project Warp Speed. We supported the CARES Act. We had 97 people in the U.S. Senate vote for it. Everybody here. There was only one member of Congress that voted against it, I believe. And Project Warp Speed had CDC, FDA, NIH, and BARDA very much in the mix. Now, some people think that you're going to come in here and insert yourself into those agencies in a way that's never been done before. Let's say that
Of course he is. He said that he was going to do these things.
they're a part of a future Project Warp Speed. Is it your intent to go in and do something that's never been done before, based on my staff's research, and insert yourself in a discussion that the scientists are dealing with in those different agencies?
Of course. Are you kidding me? I'll be surprised if he says no.
No, Senator. What I want to do is, I'm not a scientist. I want to
No fucking shit.
empower scientists. I want to make sure that science is unobstructed by vested or economic interests.
That's good. I got
that culture, and I'll just say about Operation Warp Speed.
Operation Warp Speed was that thing that is that government program that made it so that we could produce a vaccine really, really quickly, and we did. It was under Donald Trump that, it was pushed in the U.S. government. RFK Jr. most definitely wants to interfere with the scientific process. At this point, he has been given all the evidence necessary to understand that his past claims are false. And I have no clue why he would be continuing down this road. I can't even guess.
It was an extraordinary accomplishment, demonstration of leadership by President Trump.
Oh my God, dude.
When he promoted Operation Warp Speed, he was looking at all of the different remedies, including vaccines,
therapeutics, everything.
therapeutic, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine,
Oh, please. Oh my God. Hydroxychloroquine, I remember this. Hydroxychloroquine and Z-Pak together were being examined. It was a guess that people made, which is what happens in the scientific community. You make a guess, you test it, and if it turns out that it didn't, do anything for anybody, then you take another guess. Educated guesses, not complete shots in the dark. The hydroxychloroquine and Z-Pak guess didn't pan out. I can't believe I have to say this. How can RFK Jr. sit here in good conscience and seemingly knowingly lie to people's faces? That's how it appears to me.
tadevine, chlorine dioxide, and he was not looking at shutting down our country for the year, forcing people to wear masks for a year, forcing all social
All this shit happened under Donald Trump. Are you kidding me right now?
distancing that did not have any scientific basis, which Dr. Fauci has now acknowledged. He said,
No, he hasn't. This is based in science. We have understood this stuff well for a long time. God, it's just lie after lie.
we took it out of thin air. But all of those changed during the Biden administration. And it became very narrowly focused. We ended up with the highest death count of any country in the world.
Bullshit. The highest death count per capita, you mean? No. We have a large population. But even then, it could only be true if you believe China is telling the truth about their numbers. I don't remember what they said their numbers were, but it was obscenely low. It was ridiculous.
World.
Mr. Chair, if I can just ask one final question, and I think it's a one-word answer. I've heard a lot of people complaining about health care delivery, Medicaid. On the other side of the dais here, who's been responsible for health care policies over the last 4 years?
Oh, please. So you think that the problem really started in the past 4 years with Medicaid? This is so weaselly what he's doing right now.
The Biden administration.
I mean, the president, the Biden. Okay.
Yeah.
So that
I'll tell you what I wanted you to say.
I'd like to have heard more of those in oversight hearings over the last 4 years. I haven't, but I'm glad that there's an acknowledgement that you're inheriting a problem that needs to be fixed. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
This is as low as it gets, honestly. This is just bottom of the barrel.
Senator Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kennedy, thanks for being with us. I very much like the slogan that you coined, Make America Healthy Again. And I strongly agree with that effort. Despite spending, as you indicated, 2 or 3 times as much per capita on healthcare as other nations, we have 85 million people who are uninsured, underinsured. We have all kinds of chronic illnesses. Our life expectancy is lower than other countries. And for working class people in this country, they are living 6, 7 years shorter lives than the top 1%.
So up to this point, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and this ridiculous shill, whoever the hell this was, are trying to convince you to get rid of Medicaid because it doesn't have good outcomes. They're literally trying to, instead of like getting rid of it, we need to improve it and expand it if we want to improve healthcare outcomes. But they're trying to get us to get rid of it to improve healthcare outcomes. And Bernie Sanders is leaning into it and saying, yes, our outcomes are bad.
We got a problem, okay? And I'm going to suggest some ideas that I think can remedy that. Last year, the insurance industry in this country made over $70 billion, while at the same time, 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. Do you agree with me that the United States should join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all people as a human right? Yes? No?
Oh, you don't know how to hit a button? Is that your problem?
Senator, I can't give you a yes or no answer
Yes, you can. You can give a yes or no. You just don't want to give a yes or no. He just came up with a solution to your problem, and you're rejecting it.
to that question.
Healthcare a human right. Is healthcare a human right?
In the way that free speech is a human right,
Yeah.
I would say it's different because
It's not different.
if with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare,
You know, we already recognize healthcare as a human right without even like realizing it. You go to a hospital, the doctor will do whatever it takes to save your life, whatever it takes. You don't have money, they don't care. It's illegal to not treat you based on your income at a hospital. The doctor has an obligation, moral obligation, to uphold the oath that they took when they became a doctor. They have a moral obligation to do no harm, to help you at any cost. That is a right if I've ever seen one. We recognize it as a right, but don't acknowledge it as such in government.
if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now taking from the pool. And so are you guaranteed?
Are you telling me that, you know what, never mind. I'll just let him go.
You are now taking from the pool. And so are you guaranteed the same right? Or is there also a duty?
I'm sorry. I'd love to talk for an hour with you. We got a few minutes left here. All right. Every other country on earth says healthcare, whether you're poor or rich, young or old, is a human right. I'm not here.
No matter what, if you were skydiving and you broke your leg, it doesn't matter that you did a risky activity. The doctor isn't going to say, well, I mean, this one's high risk. This one is, 20 and he is doing skydiving. So I think I'm going to treat the kid that's, that hasn't done skydiving because this one might do other risky things. That's not how it's processed. People can make personal choices in their lives. They still deserve to be treated at a hospital. Doesn't make them worth any less because they decided to go skydiving or something. And he knows that. This is intuitive. Everybody in society knows that. This is a completely uncontroversial position to hold. But these Republican nutcases have to twist it around every which way to try to turn it into something that it's not, so that they can justify making society materially worse.
Hearing you say that. All right, you've talked about the drug companies, and maybe we agree on this one. As you all know, despite the drug companies making over $100 billion in profits, paying CEOs outrageous compensation packages, we in some cases pay 10 times more for the same drug. Will you support legislation that I will introduce which says that in America we should not be paying a nickel more for prescription drugs than people around the rest of the world? Yes?
This is good.
No.
It's a yes or no, dude. It doesn't get more straightforward than this. America produces the drugs, ships them to Canada. Canadians pay 10 times less. We're paying $100 for the drug. Canada's paying $10 for it. I mean, let me rephrase. Canadians are paying $10. Outside of their healthcare system or whatever, it's 10 times cheaper than we're paying here. And those same companies charge our asses $100 per drug. It's a yes or no answer here. It does not get more simple than this. This isn't a complicated blah, 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 whatever. It's straightforward as it gets.
Drugs than people around the rest of the world. Yes, no.
To equalize it.
Not to equalize it, that we should not be paying more than other countries for the same damn drug.
President Trump has asked.
Bro, he asked for a one-word answer, yes or no.
Damn drug.
President Trump has asked me, in fact, I had a meeting with President Trump a week ago where we showed him the charts.
He knows the charts.
We're paying 10 times more from Europe.
That's right. And are you going to commit to us that you will end that absurdity?
I think in principle we can. We should end that disparity.
Good. Okay. That's great. All right. I happen to believe that climate change is real, it's an existential threat, and it is a healthcare issue. Donald Trump thinks that it is a hoax originating in China.
Yeah, RFK Jr. was a what do you call it? Like a, oh my God, what's the term? He was a climate change lawyer, like a climate lawyer or whatever. A guy that goes around and sues companies for violating, regulations that make climate change worse. So I can't imagine. I mean, the only reason that he would stand behind Trump on this is because he just wants to show how loyal he is. That's it.
Question is, in your judgment, is climate change a hoax or is it real, causing devastating problems?
President Trump and I, from the beginning, from our first meeting, agreed to disagree on that issue. I believe climate change is existential. My job is to make Americans healthy again.
All right, you believe that you think that you disagree with Trump, you don't think climate change is a hoax, is what I'm hearing.
My job here is to make
I'm just asking you that, Mr. Kenny, not a trick question.
I answered your question, Senator Sanders.
Okay, you disagree with the president on that.
I answered your question.
Okay.
Just say that.
I'm going to pick up on a point that Senator Hassan made. Look, there is no question that abortion is a divisive issue in this country. I would say a majority of the people are pro-choice. There's a strong minority who are pro-life. A year and a half ago, you went to New Hampshire, running for president, gave a speech, and you talked about government should not tell a woman what she can do with her own body. That's her choice. Now, I think everybody on that side is pro-life. I think everybody here is pro-choice. I have never seen any major politician flip on that issue quite as quickly as you did when Trump asked you to become HHS secretary. Tell me why you think people should have confidence in your consistency and in your word when you really made a major U-turn on an issue of that importance in such a short time.
Senator, I believe, and I've always believed, that every abortion is a tragedy.
But you told the people in New Hampshire that it was their right. All right, let me do a last question here because I'm running out of time. I think the gist of what you were trying.
I don't think abortion is a tragedy, personally, and I don't see why anybody would. It's literally just a grouping of cells, nothing more. Just a grouping of cells. The potential for what it could be heartbreaking to you, but it's not a violation of human life or any of that stuff. You can be like really torn up about the fact that you can't have a kid right now or whatever. I get it, but that's not a murder situation.
What I'm trying to say today is you're really pro-vaccine, you want to ask questions. You have started a group called the Children's Health Defense. You're the originator, right?
Oh my God. Unvaxxed and unafraid. A onesie that says this for a child. How disgusting is that shit right there? Unvaxxed and unafraid. That is some disgusting shit.
Now, as I understand it, on their website, they are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled unfaxed, unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next one is no vax, no problem. Now you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not
Right. Okay.
part of it. I resigned from the board.
That was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that call. Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will not
He's so full of shit. This is disturbing as it gets, bro, really.
tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Blackburn.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Oh, God. Blackburn is a weasel. Let's see if we can get a close-up.
And thank you so much for being with us today. And I have no doubt that you will be confirmed and you are going
Sadly, he probably will.
to do such a
Mr. Marshall? Oh, that's the guy next to her. Marsha Blackburn. I remember her because I covered a debate between her and Bill Nye on climate change, and she said the most ridiculous, disgusting shit. Maul his ass, Bernie, exactly. She said the most disgusting shit about how, like, the oil industry was more trustworthy and Bill Nye was lying and all, just disgusting. When I find somebody in government that lies and twists things to that degree, it makes me realize that the people in government, the people that have made their way to the top of government, are the ones that should be there least of all. The people that want power the most are the ones that seek those positions and are the ones that shouldn't have it. She is one of those people that absolutely should not have power. She should be a cashier at a Joann's Fabric rather than a U.S. senator? Or she's a senator, right? Yeah, I believe this is a senator hearing because the advice and consent of the Senate.
solid job for the people of this country. And I do have several issues I wanted to talk with you about and didn't have time to cover them all when we met prior to the meeting, but rural health care is very important to me and the people of Tennessee. 78 of our 95 counties are rural counties. Now, over the last few years, we've seen hospital closures. So we have focused on access in rural areas. And my rural health agenda, which is bipartisan, focuses on innovation, telehealth, access points. It focuses on work shortages. And also, Senator Warner and I have together focused on making certain that we address the area wage index and do that fairly.
Okay, what does this have to do with anything? I'm zoning out over here. Why do I care about any of this shit? Are you just like using this opportunity to advertise for your shit? Is that what's happening right now? Let's step back like 10 seconds and see if we can figure out if that's all she's doing is just advertising for herself.
Senator Warner and I have together focused on making certain that we address the area wage index.
Yeah, she's just advertising. How is this legal? This is an example of the corruption that I was referring to, where the people at the top of government are the ones that should be there the least, because they take every opportunity that they can to make a dollar for themselves and not give a fuck about the people under them.
And do that fairly for our citizens that are in rural communities. So I would like a commitment from you that when confirmed, you and your CMS administrator will work with us to make certain that the area wage index is balanced and that it is.
She's just advertising for it. This is just wrong. This is wrong.
Is fair to rural areas.
I'm going to read your letter and answer.
Senator, both Dr. Oz and myself recognize
Ugh.
that rural health care is in crisis in this country, and that is catastrophic for our entire country. And I talked a little bit about my commitment to rural health earlier in this hearing. The regional price points, as you know, are set by Congress and not by HHS. I will certainly, and I know Dr. Oz will certainly work with you to make them sensible.
Like she didn't want him to say all of that. She just wanted to get her plug in, and that's it. Just like really disgusting shit. Just like really grotesque. How she's so ready to throw the American people under the bus on behalf of her stupid fucking organization or whatever the fuck it is.
We look forward to that. Also, you and I, before you came forward as the secretary, the nominee, we had talked in years past about over-medicating youth and concerns over that. And I was looking at a report from TennCare, which is...
I just want to point something out here. In Germany, when they were trying to come up with excuses to get rid of the Old Testament, because they felt that it was a Jewish text made by Jewish people and didn't belong in a Christian anything. They were looking for an opportunity to get rid of the Old Testament, so they scheduled talks with Old Testament scholars at the church to talk about whether they should exclude it. This is a conversation that didn't exist, that the Nazi government fabricated into being by just talking about it, by scheduling talks about it. That's what's happening here. This shit that she's laying down for us is fictitious trash. There's no reason for anybody to talk about this.
And concerns over that. And I was looking at
There's no reason for anybody to even talk about this, like over-medicating youth or whatever. This isn't a problem. This doesn't exist. They're injecting this into a conversation to benefit themselves, to help their own wallets. It is so shameless and disgusting.
report from TennCare, which is our Medicaid program in Tennessee. And I was concerned when I saw a number that TennCare had spent $90 million in 2024 alone on ADHD.
You know what I'm more worried about than that? I'm more worried about how much money the federal government is spending on healthcare for senators and congressmen. Is that a number I can find? How much does the U.S. government spend on healthcare for senators? Let's see if we can find out. Well, it's really hard to know, but based on how much my healthcare would cost, I mean, this is Washington, D.C. I would guess that D.C. healthcare is probably as expensive as New York City healthcare, right? They have hospital benefits that include a private room. I would guess they would probably be spending about at least $3,000 a month in New York City on healthcare, bare minimum, per person. Talking 100 senators, 538 representatives total. 538 representatives multiplied by at least $3,000 a month, and I'm being generous there. $1.6 million a year, at least, is what we're talking. $1.6 million a year on her health care and all of the others. Now, why aren't we talking about that? How many people are covered under Tennessee Medicaid exactly? How many, what 10 million people? I don't know. I'm guessing.
Youth and concerns over that. And I was looking at a report from TennCare, which is our Medicaid program in Tennessee. And I was concerned when I saw a number that TennCare had spent $90 million in 2024 alone on ADHD.
Okay, wow, $90 million on ADHD. I'm personally more worried about the proportionally much larger amount of money being spent on your ass and your health care. I'm much more worried about that. Now, what are we going to do about that? Is there any way that we can cut down on the health care that this woman is getting? Does she really need a private room? Shouldn't she be picking herself up by her bootstraps instead? These medicines are necessary. If you want to complain about pill mills or something, I'm with you 100% all the way. I have been personally affected by this issue, and I don't like it either. Pill mills. I don't like that, big drug companies are taking advantage of impoverished areas and sending as many medications as they possibly can. Like OxyContin flooding Huntington, West Virginia was a direct result of, was it Johnson & Johnson? I think it was. I don't remember now. They specifically and intentionally pushed what they called in their emails to each other hillbilly heroin, because they knew that the more OxyContin they sold, the more money they would make as a company. So they intentionally went to doctors' offices in West Virginia and encouraged these doctors to prescribe OxyContin as much as possible so that they would make more money. They produced the drug epidemic in West Virginia artificially. So, I get it. There are some cases in which, pill mills are a problem, for example. And if that's a problem, then we should look into trying to fix that. But believe me when I say lowering the amount of money that Medicaid is willing to pay out for children's health care is not going to solve that problem. That is scumbag shit right there. While she and her other 537 representatives get $1.6 million worth of health care per year, bare minimum. We're not even counting how much is actually paid out in claims. We're just counting what it would cost on an open market in New York City, for example. What I want is for the pharma labs to create an effective, non-addictive alternative to Xanax that is meant for long-term treatment. Is that too much? I know. Yeah, that would be awesome. Hydroxyzine's really good for that. Surprisingly good. If you haven't tried hydroxyzine, non-addictive, no ill long-term effects, and it can kill anxiety impressively well sometimes, depending on, a number of factors. But anyway, yeah, give that a shot if you haven't. The point is that this woman is a weasel who's taking advantage of everybody all along the line and complaining about it when other people are taken care of. Now, this specific issue, actually affects me personally. ADHD medicine is very important to me, that it's available to everybody. One of the most disturbing things that I've heard through this whole process is when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said that he wanted to put people in quote-unquote wellness farms for years if need be to get them off of ADHD medicine. That is some concerning shit right there. Personally affected by this. When I hear wellness farm for years on end, I hear concentration camp. I'm disturbed by this whole thing, by Robert F. Kennedy's position on this. Let's see what he says.
In 2024 alone on ADHD, this was 417,000 of our children.
Oh, okay. Yeah, look, ADHD medicine is necessary, but now we got a number, 417,000. So let me see here. Okay, so they're paying $215 per person. We're paying $3,000 per person for Congress to have health care. So I don't want to hear it. I'm going to worry more about Marsha Blackburn's health care. In fact, I want to start a movement. Let's start a movement together. Decrease Congress's health care. Make their health care the same as Medicaid. Put them on Medicaid and link it to Medicaid so that they have to raise the quality of Medicaid if they want to get better health care for themselves. That's what we should do.
And not,
if these things affected congressmen directly, we would live in a very different world. We should, I know that the reason that Congress is paid a high salary, and I know the reason that they have good health care is because they don't want them to, resort to corruption. They don't want them to worry about corruption. But I've come to find that these people are going to go corrupt anyway, no matter what. Maybe we should put them on a salary that's roughly equivalent to the lowest paid employee in the country or something. $7.25 federal minimum wage is what they get. I don't know. I'm still thinking it over.
$90 million. To me, that is heartbreaking, what is happening there.
She doesn't have a heart. I'm hard-pressed to believe that she's not a sociopath, truthfully.
So how will you prioritize oversight of prescribing practices while promoting alternative solutions such as counseling, behavioral therapies, community-based interventions for...
Brother, I'm sorry. Sister, you think this shit hasn't already been tried? Yes, this is the first step for all of this. She doesn't understand what ADHD is. She has no idea. She's just lost.
For our youth.
Exactly, and that's the solution. 15% of American youth are now on Adderall or some other ADHD medication.
I don't think that's true, but okay.
Even higher percentages are on SSRIs and benzos.
I don't think, no. Children on, like, what? Is he saying higher than 15%? So what, 20, 30%, 40% of children are on benzos? No, absolutely no chance. For the record, these things are necessary sometimes. Like I said, sometimes it's a pill mill. You need to go after the pill mills before you go after legitimate health care.
We are not just over-medicating our children, we're over-medicating our entire population. Half the pharmaceutical drugs on Earth are now sold here. 70% of the profits from pharmaceutical companies are from the United States, even though we only have 4.2% of the world's population. Not only that, but a recent study by Cochrane Collaboration founder Peter Ghosh.
Pretty much everything he says is a lie, by the way. I talked about that in the previous one. I just want to make sure that I point it out again. He just straight up lies about shit. Like, he'll say that IQ is linked to, or I'm sorry, that fluoride in the water is linked to lower IQ. No, it's just a lie. It's a complete fabrication.
Found that pharmaceutical drugs are the third largest cause of death in our country after heart attacks and cancers. Oh, they're not making us healthier.
They are making us healthier. In fact, they are. Medicine does make us healthier. There is a trade-off. Sometimes there are pill mills that appear that we need to deal with when they show themselves. We can, there are all kinds of things that we can do to stop this. Regulating things differently and all that stuff. But guess what? That's Robert F. Kennedy's job moving forward, to regulate this stuff. He's not going to regulate anything. He's going to destroy it. He's going to basically tell us that we're not allowed to do these things anymore. That is, we're not allowed to get certain vaccines anymore and things. Not going to regulate what they're allowed to put in or whatever other thing, or how much money is spent on this. He's going to destroy it.
Need community health initiatives. We need access to treatment. We need exercise. We need better food.
Okay, let me talk to you about one of those access points in treatment. And this highlights a problem we have in the federal Medicaid law. Since Medicaid's enactment, states have been prohibited from using Medicaid funds for care provided by institutions for mental disease. We refer to them as IMDs. These are psychiatric hospitals, residential treatment facilities with more than 16 beds. This is a discriminatory exclusion, and it denies payment for medically necessary care based on the illness that is being treated, and it has perpetuated unequal coverage.
I have no idea what she's talking about. I'm sorry. Let me just step back and try to understand what she's talking about one more time.
Residential treatment facilities with more.
Okay, so we're talking about inpatient treatment facilities with 16 beds or more, right?
More than 16 beds. This is a discriminatory enactment. States have been prohibited from using Medicaid funds for care provided by institutions.
Oh, states are prohibited from using funds for institutions with 16 beds or more, inpatient facilities. Okay. Discriminatory? I find it so interesting that she's arguing from a left-wing perspective right now. She's saying the poor are being discriminated against. But I know Marsha Blackburn, and I happen to know that she is a right-wing nutcase that wants to, seemingly, as far as I can tell, wants to hurt poor people. I don't know how else to like interpret her actions if it's not about hurting poor people explicitly. So there's some kind of nuance to this that we're not seeing. I don't know what she's talking about. I should look this up. Why does Medicaid ban inpatient treatment in Tennessee? Doesn't cover inpatient treatment for substance use disorders and opioid use disorders. In fact, Medicaid often covers inpatient care for mental health disorders and substance abuse. Oh, Tennessee Care doesn't cover inpatient treatment for substance abuse, but Medicaid often covers inpatient care for mental health disorders and substance abuse. I don't know why this would be, but I don't like any talk between her and or Robert F. Kennedy about inpatient substance use facilities, or what one might call wellness camps or concentration camps, if you will. Not a fan.
Mental disease. We refer to them as IMDs. These are psychiatric hospitals, residential treatment facilities with more than 16 beds. This is a discriminatory exclusion, and it denies payment for medically necessary care based on the illness that is being treated, and it has perpetuated unequal coverage in mental health care. So if you're confirmed, when you're confirmed, will you commit to working with me on repealing this discriminatory exclusion and ensuring equal access to mental health care for Medicaid beneficiaries?
Yes.
That is not something that I expected to hear from her, of all people.
Senator.
Thank you so much. I've got a question on PBM reform, one on artificial intelligence in healthcare. In the interest of time, I will yield back. I look forward to seeing you help make us healthy again.
Thank you, Senator.
She is just a disgusting human being, the way that she acts, the things she does, the things she advocates for. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr., man, I think I feel like he is a mix of both incapable of feeling empathy for others and also a complete conspiracy theorist at the same time. It's like super disturbing.